from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased to have with me Deepak Ahuja. Deepak, thank you very much for being with me today. Just a hint to the guests. So this is one of the few times where I have a guest from the same city where I am from, Dubai. And this is why I become more excited, actually. Deepak, if you can just give us a little bit a introduction about yourself, and then we can start take the conversation from there.
Thank you, Mehmet. A brief about myself. So I've been a UAE resident for almost 29 years. I was a banker for 22 years out of that, primarily into retail banking, wealth management, and SME space. While doing this journey, I also got interested to invest my money in startups and also brick and mortar business. So I actually have invested in almost 13 startups. I'm not a passive investor, so whichever startup I've invested, I tried to help them out in whatever way I can. So sometimes the founder wanted my help on the strategy, M&A, business development, fundraise. Wherever I could be adding value, I was trying to do that for the founders. And that became like a good passion for me. So in 2018, I finally decided to give a quit to my banking role. My last role was as the director for 3 verticals in other local banks. I think in 2019, I was approached by the largest venture capital company from India to become their face in Dubai. That opportunity helped me to fast track my journey into the startup ecosystem, both in UAE and India, because that company has invested in more than 900 startups. So I get a lot of exposure talking to different founders and getting a lot of insights about it. My role in that journey for 3 years was from 2019 to 22 to bring those companies which we invested into the UAE. Not all of them, but the ones that are ready for this, and also help them raise money from here into the startup ecosystem in India and other geographies. While I was doing that, I also play a role at a capital club where I'm the co-chairman for the entrepreneurs committee. Now that led to another interesting opportunity where I'm sitting today, where I'm helping the Dubai SME, and we work under their patronage to bring tech companies from different parts of the world. This is something that I started 1 year back with 2 of my co-founders. And so far, we've been able to bring almost 11 tech companies from different verticals. So we have 2 edtech from US, we have a fintech company from Singapore, we also have an agri-tech company, and total of 11 companies from different geographies across. So that's my current role, and I'm very excited that I'm part of the Dubai government initiative.
Thank you very much, Deepak. And, again, both yourself being in Dubai, and by the way, you've been here longer than me. I consider myself also one of the old guys here. It's been like 19 years here in Dubai. So, the first question, Deepak, I know like you were, in the banking side, but of course you have seen, how the startup whole ecosystem have evolved. And, myself as well, I didn't start in the startup thing. I was also the technical guy sitting behind the laptop, and doing stuff. But I was always fascinated about startups, and we have seen things, going fast. But I'd like to hear it from someone with your experience, both as an investor and as an entrepreneur also as well. So how you can describe the scene, how it started, and how is it today?
I think the need for startup innovation has come in the last few years in a big way. Because if you look at our day-to-day life, there are so many gaps that need to be addressed. Let's take a classic example of Uber. So, 20 years back when you had to hail a cab, you'd have to stand somewhere in the street and, look for a cab. And that experience was never a great one. So what Uber did, they made on-demand taxi available. That changed our lives. Today we can't think of standing outside on the road and hailing taxi. So what startups are doing and the founders are doing is they're identifying gaps which are addressed by their solutions. So that journey as an entrepreneur started in a big way in Silicon Valley almost 25, 30 years back. Obviously, things have moved from west to east, as they say. In the last 10 years, this geography, the Middle East and Asia, has taken this big leap. I am working closely with the Indian startup ecosystem, and I can tell you that last 7 years has been kind of a huge positive wave for Indian startup ecosystem. We have a large population to address the gap, so which is what makes this area very, very important for all the startups. So, to answer your question, Mehmet, the startup uh, founders today are amazing minds who are identifying a problem rather, and trying to create a solution. And what I've seen is if the founder is very focused on the problem, he keeps on pivoting the business model, and that's how the businesses are grown. So we have a lot of names here, for example, Kareem and then Soup.com. And India, we have names like Zomato, Fresh Markets. People have grown a brand here and taken it internationally. So it's a great story. I have had this conversation a lot of time that in past, if you had to create a $100 million company, it will take you maybe 20 years. But today, a founder in a tech space can create a $100 million company in less than 1 year's time. So that's the amazing part of startups. Startups also help us in terms of helping the unemployment because the youth in the country, in many countries like India or in many parts of the world, are finding finding it difficult to find a job. But when they are able to move their mindset to entrepreneurship journey, they are becoming a job giver, not a job seeker. So I am very, very, happy that I am part of this whole movement, which is helping solve the problems of consumers and individuals, and also a larger problem in terms of the society. But at the same time, it is helping to create more and more employment opportunities and creating more entrepreneurs. So very, very pleased to be part of this journey.
That's amazing. And again, like as you said, we've seen you. As I said, you've been here like longer than me. But even when I came, the startup concept all together, it was not there. And then we started to see, this boom. It started, as you said, with Souk and later Kareem, and now every day we see like there's no day I can say, because I cover this in my weekly newsletter. There is no day I don't see a news about some startup taking funding or something that get launched. So really, it's exciting time. And as you said, and I loved when you said like things started to move from west to east. Now, being part of this, Deepak, I know like you mentioned in the introduction about the incubator program, the iACCEl Gulf Business Incubator. So what was the inspiration for having iACCEl set it up, and how do you think it's aiming to transform the landscape of the startups, both here locally in the UAE and the broader region, including also India, of course, as well?
Great, Memo. Before I answer this question, I'll go back to your previous point. What has also happened is in the last few years, the governments have taken an initiative in UAE and Dubai, where they also want to, kind of bring the entrepreneurship and the innovation culture. So for many years, when I came 30 years back, there was the expats who were coming here primarily to look for a job. Of course, they stayed for long, but there was no inclination to start a business unless you are in that field already. But today, thanks to the support from the government and private institutions and a lot of players, the startup ecosystem is thriving. Now, my inspiration for creating iACCEl Gulf Business Incubator was that Dubai has always positioned itself as a launchpad for the entire Middle East and North Africa region. So today, there are a lot of companies from different geographies who are wanting to come to Dubai to set up a business and start a business, basically. But with all due respect, there are a lot of incubators and accelerators, but they do just the very high level real estate service. So they offer license and they offer a co-working space, but nothing beyond that. But because I've mentored and advised startups in my last 15 years of journey, a startup needs much more. When they come out of their home country where they have done a journey of 1, 2, 3 years, when they come to a new geography, they need much more. So they need to be meeting the right people who can mentor them, advise them, help them pivot the business model, then make them introduction with the right people in terms of the market access, even regulatory bodies. Because if you create a solution for a geography, it doesn't automatically get applied to other geographies because there are cultural differences, there are different regulatory aspects. Now, when I saw this gap, it was something that I really wanted to address. iACCEl Gulf Business Incubator has created a value proposition which is doing end-to-end journey for startups. So right from bringing them into UAE, where we offer them licensing support, we offer them co-working space, we offer them support systems in terms of a legal company, a marketing company, a financial accounting company. So these are hygiene factors. So when a startup, let's say, is coming from Egypt or from India or from Australia, this are basic hygiene requirement, which is required for a startup founder to have comfort that I have settled in UAE. Then comes the real part. So then we have created an angel network of 300 plus mentors, advisors, and they are from different domains. So I have bankers, I have people from healthcare, I have people from IT, logistics. Depending on what sector the startup is from, I map the right mentors. Now, that is something which is unique because nobody else does this in the market. We are able to fast track the journey of the startup instead of them doing a trial and error, which can take a lot of time, money, and effort. We are able to fast track them because they bring the people who have lived in UAE for 20, 25 years, like me, and they have the deep vertical knowledge. So it saves a lot of cost and time for startup to fast track their journey. And the biggest advantage that we bring is we market access. So we market access it through our connects in the Dubai government. We do it through the private sector that we have connects. Of course, funding is a primary requirement of a startup. So we help them in that journey as well, right from a small ticket of $100,000. Depending on the stage of the startup, we can even help them a couple of $1 million if that's what they need. So to answer your question, there was a huge gap. I think a lot of people have tried to do this, but iACCEl has cracked it very, very well.
Thank you, Deepak, for this. And just to stress on the thing that you just mentioned. Last year, when I decided to go out by myself, and I started to talk to founders because I was trying to see. I work myself with US tech startups mainly, and I was here, so I was trying to discover this space and to discover this ecosystem. And what you mentioned is exactly the pain point that a lot of founders, even locally here, by the way, not the ones who are outside, they face. And here I want to ask you a question, because you mentioned, there is a lot of other places. Do you think we have currently, Deepak, kind of, and I can understand the hype. Whenever there's a hype in a market, whatever it is, AI in tech, or for example, even now startups are booming. So we see a lot of noise. Do you think we are seeing a lot of noise when it comes to, like, I don't want to say it in a bad way, but I mean, let's say things that market themselves in a wrong way, that the founders, they get lost. So for example, what you mentioned is exactly in the US what an accelerator is. Like, what, for example, the most known one is Y Combinator, right? So here we see just like shared offices, but they say they are accelerators. We see like people who say, I can introduce you to investors, but actually they don't do it this way. Do you think we have a noise, and do you think this noise gonna, like, after some time fade, and we will have only really the real thing staying?
I think your observations are very right, Mahmood. There are a lot of people who promise a lot, and it's not just happening today, it's happening from longest time. So, as I mentioned, Dubai has been a global hub for trade and businesses. So even 25 years back, when people were coming to Dubai to start a business, there were a lot of promises made by a lot of people saying, okay, you start a company, I will do this, do that. But to the point of startups, I think there are many players who claim that they want to do the full 9 yards, but it is heavy lifting. When I say this, I'm talking from my personal experience. To create that mentor network of 300 people, I mean, I've been lucky to have some great co-founders. It's not easy, and to find people, because see, every initiative takes effort, cost. People don't have that kind of a mind space or the bandwidth. If you look at it, most of the time, anybody who is trying to help wants to take a fee out of you and doesn't bother about your success. So people say, okay, come set up a company, I'll give you license at a 50% cost and rent a space. So their money is made on a transaction. Now, if that is your approach, you will never be able to help the startup because your transaction is going to give you the money. The real thing is, are you part of the journey, which is what iACCEl does. We actually become a part of the journey with the startup founder. We take a small equity on the operating entity. Now, what I'm trying to say is, to answer your question, eventually the founders who are coming to this country, or they're already in this country, they will have to decide who they want to associate, because It's just like, when you want to go out and associate yourself with people, you get 20, 30 different options, but eventually you settle for one that you find the value system match is there. I think that value system match will happen with few strong players who are willing to do the journey in the long term and not trying to make a quick buck out of it. Uh, they will not, the remaining will not die down, because there are founders who just want to have office space, and Dubai has been a model that way. But the real startup founders who want to get the full support, they will have to choose the right ecosystem partners, and which is where the value system match is very important. Because one of the important things that I learned when I left my banking world is that you have to associate with people who have the similar thought process, and that's what a founder's job is. So while they have done a great job in identifying a gap and they're working on it, they also have to be very selective in terms of the partners that they choose and who's supporting them. I hope there are more players who will do the real stuff, but today there are very few.
Thank you, Deepak, for mentioning this. You know, it's like hearing this from someone experienced like you is very, I would say, important to someone like myself, because I'm consider myself a late aged entrepreneur, let's say, or someone who's trying to help and guide fellow entrepreneurs, like, because I didn't have the access, I didn't have the knowledge. And with this podcast, I'm trying to fill this gap if possible. And I'm happy, like what you mentioned matches the observations that I got also last year. What I found, and this is resonates a lot with what you said, that I think there is a lack of education for startup founders, so they don't know where to go. And actually, unfortunately, because the noise we talked about, I've seen some of them, they quit before even they do something. Some of them, they unfortunately also they lose money, and then they are left behind. But I like when to talk to people who give this hope again with me, Deepak. Now I want to go a little bit into the investment part, and of course, because you have the background from the banking side as well. And this is we discussed it like with people locally. I mean, here people who are based in Dubai and even people who are in the US. Now, the first thing, do you see from your experience that necessarily every startup really needs to raise funds? And when to go to angels, when to go and seek the VCs? Maybe like it's a simple question, but I like to repeat these topics because I think the more we repeat them, the more knowledge is getting from different opinions. And you are a thought leader in this, Deepak. And again, repetition is always good. So I want to hear your feedback on this.
No, I think it's a very important question that you asked, Mahmood. I think funding and fundraise, it takes away a lot of time and effort from a founder. And I've seen this journey for many of my founders that I'm associated with. So to answer your question, when is the right time? I think initial, as we know, when you have an idea that you want to work on, you have to bring money from your own pocket or maybe ask from your family. So that's why it's called friends and family round. So the first people who will trust you are people that you know. So your parents, your uncles, your cousins are the first people. And then, of course, your friend circle that somebody's been with you for a few years. I think if you're able to get to a point where you have a POC and some kind of revenue is coming in, that's the time you go outside. Before that, if you go outside, very few people want to trust you, unless you're a second time or third time founder and you have a great track record. So that time wanting to put a rider. Going to angels is good because by the name angel, these are not just people who will put money, but also will bring some kind of a support system for you. So, for example, if you're a fintech startup and you get a banker as an angel investor, like I was in my 20 years of career, I just don't bring the money. I also bring access. So one of the startups that I'm associated with is a golf aggregator, which has now gone on to become one of the top most consumer benefit marketplace. When I did the angel investment in 2013-14, I opened doors for them in multiple places. In fact, we even pivoted the business model from a B2C to B2B2C. And today we are doing a revenue of almost $80 million a year. So angels are very important. They play a role which is very, very critical before you go to VC, because VC won't come at that stage. You need to have some good angel investors. I think once you have achieved the stage where you are now wanting to scale and you want to grow outside the geography or outside different markets, that's the time you need to go to a VC, because VC money is usually for growth. I see very few VCs wanting to initiate, put the check at the early stage. And at early stage, your valuations will be so that they will take away your right arm and the leg. So I think you need to be careful in the journey that want to get to the VCs. I think VCs also have had a reputation where they put you on a very tough target and they start walking into your shoes literally. So if you're ready to have that kind of experience, then you should go to the VC. Otherwise, only go to them when you are ready for a larger discussion. And it's a gradual journey. So first is self-funded, friends, family, then the angel, and then you go to a probably HNI, and then go to a VC, because VCs, the good ones, usually play a big role in at the growth stage, where they even take you to the exit. So either could be a private equity exit or a IPO. So that's the journey of a startup founder. But at every stage, when you bring money, try to bring smart money, not just ordinary money, because only investments are not what usually startups want. They want something which has got a strategic angle to it. So somebody who can help you in distribution, somebody that can help you in pivoting the business model or come as a strategic advisor. I think that's what should be the focus of the startup founders.
Absolutely. And thank you again, Deepak, for this detailed explanation of that. But maybe I'm looking too much like criticizing or nagging today, and sorry for the audience, but I am trying to be, because I've done a lot last year about this, and this is again one of my notices. Do you agree with me that still on the angel sides, because and the close to my heart are the founders who are still in early stages and first time founders, because as you said, if they are second time founders, probably they already have the network, they cracked the code somehow. So first time founders, they are still, as we call it, in a pre-seed stage probably, or maybe seed stage. Now, every single startup book that I read, and usually it's about the US market, right? So or the stories that we see here and there on the internet. You see the guy, he met someone in the restaurant and someone wrote him a check of $50,000, $20,000, whatever. Now, here in our region, do you agree with me, Deepak? Like, we don't have still this, I don't know if we should call it culture of angel investment, or should we call it, I don't know. Because, all the founders in their mind, okay, money is only either with VCs, it's either with banks, maybe they would take it as a debt financing, or family offices. And you see them like they are spinning around trying to find out, okay, where can I get the money? Where can I get the money? So do you agree with me on this? You can disagree, of course. And if yes, like how we can, from your opinion, like have like, I started to see some syndicate, honestly, in the region. But if you ask me, and considering the population growth is not enough. So what's your take on that?
I think it's a very important question, Mehmet, what you asked here. Angel investment is a very risky asset class. I mean, it is something that I have been educating and trying to create awareness, because if you look at all the mature startup ecosystem, whether it is Silicon Valley or India, China, they have grown primarily because there's a lot of angel investors who are supporting the startup at the early stage. This region, everything is all about education. Now, even now, when I speak to some of my friends who are not in the system, they say, oh, but startup is very risky. I'm told that I have to invest in 10 of them. 7 of them will die. 1 of them will be a big hit, and the others will give me average return. Now, that spray and pray is what the myth has been put in the minds of a lot of people. So they are shy of that. Again, it's a matter of education. So how do people, again, I'm not generalizing it, invest in startups in this region? Okay, my friend invested $10,000 in some startup that he has worked hard. I told him, okay, take 5,000 from me. Now, you don't do your due diligence. You don't do your own homework. You don't meet the founders. You don't ask the question. You went on a piggy riding of somebody else's due diligence. Obviously, you haven't taken care of your money. So this is where people have, not had a great experience. But things are changing. In fact, we, iACCEl, because we want to become a full ecosystem player, are trying to do this. So one of the key initiatives that I mentioned is that we have an iAngels network, which is growing by the week. It's right now 300 members. Now, who are those people? They are people exactly the profile that you mentioned. People who have been in the country for 5, 10, 15, 25 years. They have saved some money. They are usually investing in the traditional asset class, so fixed deposit, mutual fund, real estate. They want to come to startup ecosystem, but they don't know how to get the access to that. So that has become one of the important part. How do you bring a startup? Now, during COVID, what happened? A lot of WhatsApp groups were formed, and people were pitching on Zoom. A startup founder will come for half an hour. He'll give you idea, and 20 people on a Zoom call, 5 of them decide to invest. But then you never see the founder again. You only see a report coming to you once in 3 months if you're lucky. that is what has to change to get investment from angel investors. Is a trust building, and trust doesn't happen overnight. You need to do the journey. So what iACCEl does is that we do monthly pitch events in our office. We can accommodate up to 100 people in our office. We have a large place. Among the 300 people that we have, we invite them, and every time we get around 60, 70 people, we make them meet the founder. The founders are in person, they are here. What the other validation that iACCEl is doing is that we are talking about founders who will eventually set up the company in Dubai. So that comfort we are giving to people. So this is all building, angel trust. And I'll be very happy to say that, out of my 300 people, there are a lot of people who are investing today in those companies. There's another thing that is also required here in terms of regulation, because see, if you're taking money from investors, you need to have the right licensing. So that is where, again, the costs are very prohibitive. So we as a accelerator are also part of the policy feedback that government, and we want them to ease off in terms of the cost that is required. Because if you're picking up money from angel investors today in UAE to raise money from an individual, there is a lot of regulation, which it's not prohibitive, but it's expensive, and it's also something that has a lot of hindrances. So that regulation has to ease, education has to come, which is what we are doing. And eventually this ecosystem will pick up, because from like my experience as a wealth manager in this country, there's a lot of money here. I mean, individuals save a lot of money here. Companies have money. There are very rich HNI peoples in this country who are investing in traditional asset class. It's not about educating them in the startup ecosystem. And the most important critical aspects I want to emphasize is that there have to be exits. If as an angel investor, Mahmood, you have invested in something, and after 3-4 years, you come and tell me, Deepak, my money got multiplied by 3, 4, 5 times, I'm getting encouraged. We are not seeing that happening in the ground. There have been very few exits. So there has to be a mechanism where we, as an ecosystem player, bring all those things together. So education, regulation, exits. People, when they see money coming back to them, they want to invest again. And that's what has happened in the other geographies. Here, it is starting to happen. But again, you need the right players, which is what iACCEl is trying to do. We make the investors meet the founders, we validate them. And inshallah, in the next 2 or 3 years, we are going to build a very strong engine network for the country.
I'm happy to hear that. As they say, it's a music to my ears, Deepak. And really, congratulations on doing this, because again, regarding the education, I think, because I tried to, honestly, and I'm very transparent that everyone knows this. So I even tried, some people, I told them I don't have the network, right? They said, yeah, but that is really someone who's inside the UAE. We know nothing. So what I have noticed is, and was the feedback of the founders that came from other regions. Oh, your region is so like risk averse. Like they don't like risk, right? So they want something guaranteed, and this is because, again, as you mentioned, like because we don't have still, of course, some people like yourself, because you've been doing this for a while, but still we need to do a lot of work, I believe, about it's not like it's not like a formula that 3 succeed and this. Yeah, please go ahead, Deepak.
I have to add one more point. The problem here is if there's an investor who's got $100 to invest, the startup guy is fighting for the $100 along with a banker, along with a real estate guy and a gold guy, because everybody thinks that those asset classes are very secure, as you said. So people have seen a lot of money being made in real estate, so they believe that that's a safer asset because you can see the property and all that. As I said, startups in this country have to get exits for the angel investors. If we see in your friend circle, out of 50 people that 10 people have made money in startup, why won't you go there? I think that has also to come. So there is the feedback that you had from your friend is not wrong, that the people are looking for a secure asset class, because that's where they've seen money growing in the last 20 years. UAE people have made a lot of money in real estate. I mean, people who have taken the risk have made money. Startup, there are people who have made money, but they don't make noise about it, and it's a small number. You have to increase the number.
Yes, and I think this is where, again, what you're doing, Deepak, is helping, because to spreading, the message out, and people would start to know, would start to notice. The good thing in my, I'm always looking to the full as a second, the full part of the glass is, the stories that happened in the past few years, whether it's like the Kareem, whether it's like the souk.com. So it opened the eyes a little bit of people. Oh, like this startup thing work here actually in our region, because people always they thought, oh, this can happen only in the Silicon Valley, especially if we talk about tech, for example, or these things only happens in India, or these things only happens in China or in Singapore. So I'm very happy now that we are seeing this paradigm shift even in the mentality of people thinking, no, actually this region, whether here in UAE, Dubai, in Saudi, even like the other GCC countries, they started also to have, Egypt is very active, by the way, nowadays in the startup scene. So I'm happy to see this because people started to believe. Now, I would little bit let you, Deepak, sit on the part, maybe getting you back to the banking side, because I know that investors, they think from, you need to have this banking mentality. So and this is, I'm asking you to give hint to founders. So what do you usually look when you assess any startups? What do you advise, founders to have before coming and seek investments from angels?
I think it's a very very loaded question. I'll try to make it simple.
Take your
First of
time, by
all,
the way,
yeah.
answering it.
First of all, the founder should be, you know, passionate about what he's doing or she is doing. I mean, or they are doing together. They cannot be a part-time founder. You can't be doing a job and doing a startup. You need to be full-time engaged. You need to show that you have put your skin in the game. So I don't invest in founders who say I don't have money, but I took money from my uncle and I'm now coming to you, because that shows that you don't have any commitment. So those are first few don'ts, that you don't go to investor without putting your own skin in the game. I think it's also important that when you are doing something, you should be very clear about the scalability of the solution. Because I've seen many founders falling in love with their solution, saying, "Oh, this is a great idea," but they haven't done, and they always believe that this is a green field, that nobody else in the world is doing that. But if you scratch the surface, you will realize that there are maybe five other competitions. So go with your facts very correctly done. One of the important things that I always tell my founders is that don't fall in love with your solution, fall in love with the problem. So if you identified a gap, the solution that you created for the first or second time may not be the final solution. You keep pivoting. This is where many founders go wrong. If they found a gap, they created a solution, they fall in love with the solution. They want to say that, oh, this is the best solution. But what happens a couple of months down the line, somebody comes and brings a better solution for that. Just to give you an example, I mentioned Uber. We also had, founder from who's got a company similar to that called Waze, WAZE, which was eventually bought by Google. But Waze is an improvised version of GPS system, and it's much more effective. So always try to find better the solution that you've created. So these are few things that I look at it. I think the most important aspect is the startup founder aware of the market? Does he know the journey in the next 4 or 5 years? And exit, because every investor wants to know, when will I get my exit? So the story is great. You've got an amazing PowerPoint, 10 slides, but where is the exit? When do you think, if I put my money today, can I exit in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? And how will the exit happen? So these are important parameters. No part-time founder, skin in the game, fall in love with the problem, not a solution. Have your roadmap clear in terms of scalability, and make sure that there's the competition, because you can get surprised. And many a times founder sit on a solution where there's no even market for that. So make sure that there's a market for that. And as an investor, I would like to know, when does the exit happen for me? I'm not looking at multipliers. I'm just looking at time frame. So if you take my money, like if I invest my money in real estate, I know I have to wait for 3-4 years. If I invest my money in fixed deposit, I know I have to wait for 1 year. I need to know in the startup, what is my time frame. I can't put the money forever. Yes, I can decide to take not the money out when I'm at 2 multiples. I want to wait for 5 multiple, but that's my call. So those are the few tips I want to give to the founders who are stepping out to raise money from the investors.
I think, again, you touched, Deepak, on one underrated part. It's, of course, finding the problem and finding the solution. It's like, of course, the key. And last year, and I was doing this like voluntarily, by the way. I was, because I was learning, by the way. So to your point, a lot of founders, they came to me and they thought that they have the next whatever, right? And then when I asked, okay, how did you validate? And I just asked this simple question. I said, what do you mean? I said, okay, the problem is clear, solution is clear, but does it have the enough market? Like, have you at least asked your friends, asked, your colleagues if they are facing the same problem, and would they pay money for this? And they said, no, because I'm facing the same problem. I said, yeah, like, this is the bare minimum where you have to start. So you need the idea validation and market validation is very underrated. And I was lucky also to work with a group of young entrepreneurs. And when I did like a lecture for them, and like this is, they said, like no one told us about this thing. We thought like we need to go find a problem, put a solution, raise money. And yeah, okay, they started to understand they need to put the exit and all this, but they missed the market validation. And I said, yeah, without going out of the office and going talking to people, you will not be able to to validate your ideas. So you need a strong validation, and actually this will help you, when you speak in front of the investors. So thank you for bringing this, Deepak.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to understand from you more. We covered startups, but I know that the work you do at iACCEl is you collaborate with the government entities as well, like Dubai SME, and I know like your office actually is in the building where the DED is, or the Dubai Economic Department is. So how this collaboration is fostering and nurturing the environment for startups with the support of the government.
So I mentioned in the beginning that I've been a resident of UAE for almost 29 years. I've seen, Dubai, UAE grow, and it's all been a vision, from the government, the leadership. I'm so fortunate that we are today able to help, Dubai SME in their mission to bring startups from different parts of the world. Our patronage from Dubai SME makes us very, very unique, because every startup that we are talking to, and once we have, zeroed down on them, we make an introduction to the Dubai SME team, and they are always helpful. So just to give an example, we had two edtech companies from the United States who came and incorporated with us. Apart from putting them on to the mentors from the academic background that we have in our group and network, we were able to open the doors for them in a couple of universities. But when I took them to the Dubai SME, we were introduced to the KHDA, which is the regulator. So, in terms of market access, in terms of regulation, Dubai SME is playing a great role. I think it's a very interesting public-private partnership, which is something that has happened in many countries, where, as a government, you have a vision and you want to achieve a certain level of economic development, but as a government, because of whatever reason, you can only do this much, and which is where people like us come in the picture, who help you to achieve that goals and objectives through a public-private partnership. So I believe iACCEl Gulf Business Incubator is an entity which is private, but we get a lot of support from Dubai SME to help achieve the end goal of the country. This 11 companies that I have incorporated last year, and then another 25 that we are going to incorporate this year, I am pretty sure, if not all, at least many of them will be a legacy for the country. Many of these companies are solving a problem which is existing in the UAE, and our companies are getting some amazing traction. And I can sit down and give you names. I will be surprised if many of these companies will stay here for next 15, 20, 30 years. So that's our, kind of giving back to the society. If you look at Dubai SME, it's a custodian of SME businesses. Now, many of the businesses are traditional businesses like trading companies, garages, restaurants. We know that disruption is going to hit many of them. So in a way, we are helping bring sustainable tech businesses into the country, which is what UAE consumer also needs, which is what the government also wants to do. And in the process, we are creating employment opportunities, we are creating investment opportunities. So there's a wealth creation for people who are getting associated with us. There's a job creation mechanism happening as well. We are so happy because, in our lifetime, normally you get a chance to start a new business or a new geography. Here we have an opportunity where we are starting something which will help the country. It will help the founders who are coming from different parts of the world to grow their business. It is helping the government achieve its objective. Plus, we are creating an ecosystem. The angel network that we have created, we've already seen some great successes. People who have started mentoring our startups, they are achieving the goals together. So it's a beautiful journey. It's been only like less than a year, but we are very excited, and a lot more is coming in terms of the tech company that we are looking at for Dubai.
That's amazing and fascinating, Deepak. Any, you mentioned about some of the, what do you look at when you accept them in your accelerator program? But do you focus more, for example, on companies that do consumer business like B2C, or is it for you like they can be from any type?
No, so again, we have a level 1 to level 4 filtering mechanism. And as of now, we only work with tech companies, because tech companies, I can help them to scale. If there's a great restaurant idea, I don't think I can help them because how many restaurants can I open? So not all businesses we accept. We accept tech businesses, and within tech also we have 9 verticals. So fintech, health tech, education tech, agri tech, cyber tech, AI. I'm not saying that I will not accept a 10th vertical and tech side, but as long as it's tech, because which is where scalability becomes easier. And again, the mandate that we have from the government is to bring tech businesses, because other businesses, they are anyway coming to Dubai, and there are many ways, many people trying to help them. So yeah, to answer your question, we are focusing on tech businesses. And we're not saying no to tech-enabled businesses, so we are open to that as long as there's a use case for this region. See, there's no point bringing a business which doesn't have a use case for here. There's no point incorporating company which will not grow, because my success is tied with the growth of the company. If they don't achieve their growth, then my association with them is not going to be helpful for either party. So I don't want to waste anybody's time. We are very focused on that aspect.
Yeah, great. And I'm with you, Deepak, on tech. And this is why also myself, I try to focus, because I have technology background, but, I have a wish or dream or whatever you want to call it, is to have, okay, like I love all the tech, whatever it is, HR tech, ed tech, fintech. But I think what we need to start to see more here is the enterprise tech and the, maybe with the time we start to see these, but very few, and the deep tech, right? So I wish we start to see these more over here. The others, of course, anything which is technology is fascinating. That you help people or you help other organizations. It's amazing. Like, final question before we close, Deepak. Like, from the mission you are on now and from the experience that you have, do you think, or like, if you want to ask it from the different like type of different angle, do you see the startup ecosystem here in the UAE and the rest of GCC in the next 5-10 years going beyond or becoming like also number one in the world, like surpassing Silicon Valley? Do we have this ambition? How do you see this market evolving when it comes to the startups?
I think, again, a great question. I don't think I will say that it'll go surpass Silicon Valley, but there's a huge opportunity. What do we have going right for this region? One, there's a lot of focus from the government. They want to bring this. So that is the starting point. And because of that, there's encouragement for the other ecosystem players. So, people like us getting into the business, investors are coming in the business. Now, I also want to be very careful when I say this, that, a startup cannot have a solution only for this region. They can be from this region, they can be from Dubai, but their solution should be global, because that's how you will scale, that's how you'll achieve the success. So these are the important aspects. Now, the ecosystem that is required to foster this kind of culture of innovation and entrepreneurship is happening on the ground. I mean, yesterday we were in Abu Dhabi signing a MOU with the National Incubator, which is a federal level initiative, and we have been positioned along with the big boys like Hub 71. So there is a lot of government focus coming from all the levels for bringing this, because one thing that everybody knows that, if any country has an unemployment problem, that can only be solved by entrepreneurship. I mean, I met a very strong founder a few years back, and he said, Deepak, entrepreneurs are the people who solve the problems of the world. I mean, look at Apple, a $1 trillion company created by a vision of 2-3 smart people. Similarly, Microsoft, talk about Tesla. The entrepreneurship culture in this region is growing, and the support system that is coming from the mentors, advisors, government is definitely going to take it to the next level. How big we become is depending on how persistent we are. Of course, a lot of work has to be done on the regulation side, because I have to be candid in this show that in the past few years, when there was a good startup from this region and they wanted to raise VC money from the US, they were asked to take the holdco out of this region, because the regulations here don't allow you to have different share classes. I think those regulatory changes are important. So we have got the ball rolling. That is a good momentum. To decide how big we become will also be influenced by how much we are willing to change the regulation. So, for example, today startups are always bootstrapped. If I have to do business in one emirate, I should be allowed to do business in the other emirate with the same license. I don't have to go and take on the license. So these kind of things have to change, because if a startup has to open 7 different licenses to work in 7 emirates, it's not going to happen. So there is a movement that has started, but it requires constant evolution on regulation side, on the technology side, and that's how the startup will scale up. I don't want to put size to it, but this region has a huge potential because we have everything going. We have the population, we have the money, we have the government willingness, and we have the talent. That's the most important part. We just have to bring them together, and people like you and me can make that happen together.
Hopefully, and I can see it happening, Deepak, in a couple of years. I'm not sure how many, but I think it's faster than people expect, because for the same reasons you mentioned, and especially, regarding the regulations, I think, the pace, especially after COVID, we started to see how things here in Dubai, specifically, how the laws started to change very fast. And what used to be called like maybe taboo, no, you cannot like ask for this. Now it's becoming possible. I think, this is helping a lot. And what I'm happy more, Deepak, about, and this I can share from personal experience, even founders from the Silicon Valley, I'm talking here about tech specifically, are coming to this region because from their perspective, they see the opportunity, and not from money only, which is very good. Because, someone would say, hey, like, yeah, but always the GCC region, they know they are like relying on oil, and, they are rich already. It's not the case. So really, these people are seeing how governments are embracing this change and, putting their efforts. And this is why they are telling me, hey, like, guys, like, you are really up to something. Like, there's all these fascinating things happening there, which is 100%. Deepak, final question, where we can find more about, iACCELerator?
I can share my website. I can share my LinkedIn. There are places where you can find us. We are also on Insta. I think we can send that information across to you. We have a very strong co-founder who's a marketing person herself, and she has made sure that we make a lot of noise. So you'll find us. If you type in iACCEl, you will find us.
For the audience, don't worry. Usually what I do, I put this information in the show notes for you, so you don't have to look at yourself. Deepak, at the end, I really appreciate, this discussion. I'm passionate myself. This is why maybe the audience would have noticed that I was like more interactive, not other episodes maybe. And the reason it's something very close to my heart. I consider myself, maybe I wasn't a startup founder at a younger age, but at this stage, at this phase of my life, if I can help fellow, entrepreneurs to find what I was missing when I was younger, that would be fantastic. And this is why actually this show exists. And the reason it's called CTO, it's actually a combination of tech and entrepreneurship. So thank you very much, Deepak, for all the insights, all the information you gave me today. I enjoyed the discussion.
Likewise, Mahmoud, it's been an amazing conversation. I think I enjoyed it equally. As I believe this is a collaboration effort. We need more people like yourself and many more to make this ecosystem
and like you also
vibrant. Yeah, thank you. So very happy and wish you all the best. I'm looking forward to continue this dialogue in the future as well.
Sure. And as usual, this is how I end my episodes. So this is for the audience. If you discovered this podcast by chance, thank you. So I hope you become a loyal followers. You can find us on all podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the rest. Also, you can find us on YouTube. So we appreciate if you can subscribe and share this with your friends and colleagues. And if you are one of the loyal followers who keep sending me their messages and feedback, thank you very much. And I appreciate that. Keep sending them. Even if you don't like something, send it to me. I can try to enhance. I'm always looking to enhance this show. And at the end, this is for everyone around. If you have an idea, if you are on a mission, doing something related to tech and entrepreneurship, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Let us do an episode together and come and try to help other people. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will meet again very soon.
Thank you.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.